Beat your fears and take that bold step today. Subscribe to own your property. Agron Homes.
Building cities, communities, and homes.
From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Nigerian senators donate their December salaries to the victims of last Sunday's mistaken airstrike by the military on Tudunbiri village in Kaduna State. President Bola Tinubu advocates for good governance in the West African sub-region as a way of preventing authoritarian takeovers of power. After 9 weeks of rigorous learning processes, winners emerged in the first series of Channels Television's social enterprise reality TV show for young entrepreneurs, Fund It Forward. And key mediator in the Israel-Hamas war, Qatar, says chances of a new ceasefire are narrowing, but has vowed to keep up the pressure on both sides. In a rare show of empathy, Nigerian senators are donating their December salaries to the victims of last Sunday's accidental military airstrike at Tudunbiri village in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. Announcing the donation today during a condolence visit to the Kaduna State Governor, Uba Sani, the Deputy Senate President, Barao Jibril, who represented the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the National Assembly will partner with the Executive to ensure a thorough investigation into the incident in order to avert a future recurrence. On his part, Governor Sani thanked the senators for their show of empathy and also appealed to the National Assembly to revisit the agitation for the creation of state police.
I want to emphasize here that the Senate will leave no stone unturned in its zeal to find out the reason for the occurrence of this unfortunate incident. We are working on the same page with Mr. President. Mr. President is also highly in a mood that no stone should be left unturned to unravel what happened and to prevent that from happening again. So we are all on the same page with the executive government, and we will continue to work in partnership in order to unravel what happened and also take measures to prevent this kind of unfortunate incident to occur in the future.
I'm really happy with the level of support, level of empathy and solidarity by the people of this country, from Mr. President to the Vice President to the leadership of the Senate and the National Assembly generally, and as well as the good people of Nigeria. I also want to make it clear here today that here in Kaduna, we have received this thing with shock. But unfortunately, in the last few days, some people are trying to make it to look like it's either an ethnic or religious issue. Here in Kaduna, we don't believe in that. We are one family. There's no difference between Muslim and Christians in Kaduna. This incident can happen anywhere in Nigeria, and it's about humanity. What we are asking for is justice for the people of Tudunbiri who lost their lives and those in the hospital.
Staying with the accidental bombing, a group which goes by the name Concerned Northern Lawyers Forum is threatening to initiate legal action against the federal government if the victims are not adequately compensated and those found culpable in the incident sanctioned. Spokesman for the group, Nafiu Abubakar, who addressed journalists at a news conference in Kaduna, says the attack on innocent civilians in Tudunbiri is not something that should be glossed over.
The dust raised by the military airstrike in Tudunbiri village appears to be spreading as the concerned Northern Lawyers Forum are threatening legal action over the incident.
So we want to tell the world that this act amounts to genocide and explore the appropriate provision under the Rome Statute, especially Article 5, will use the international legal machineries to ensure that the perpetrators of this act are brought to book.
At a separate news conference, another group, the Northern Coalition of Socio-Political Groups, is urging all stakeholders, including the Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF, and Jamaatul Nasir Islam, to avoid giving the incident ethnic or religious coloration.
For us, the religious and political leaders demanding for the sack of the Chief of Army, Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, other service chiefs, and the GOC are unnecessarily stirring up tension. We therefore are calling the good people of Kaduna and Nigeria in general to avoid bringing up the issue of religious, ethnicity, and sentiment.
They urge the military to review its rules of engagement to avoid the recurrence of accidental bombings in future operations.
Still on the Tudunbiri incident, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has described the accidental airstrike as unfortunate and not a deliberate action targeted against the people, which the army is paid to protect. General Musa, who was speaking during the graduation ceremony at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru in Plateau State, emphasized that the incident was an avoidable mix-up.
The incident in Kaduna is very unfortunate. I always want to mention it. It's very sad. It's something that shouldn't have taken place. It was a mistake. And it was because those in charge were actually because they had the reports, something was going to happen, and they were. And at that instance, something similar to what normally happens. And they got carried away, and then they reacted. It wasn't on purpose. But you see, when you listen to the news, my fear is when we discourage our troops, next time, even when the original, the real ones come, they will not want to act, because they'll say, if we do, and it's a mistake, we won't do anything. So I think we should try and look at these things dispassionately when incidences occur. Nobody in his right man's mind will wake up and just look at people and just bomb them for that reason. We are all Nigerians. We are meant to protect Nigerians. And that is what we are doing. In the course of it, we might make mistakes because we are humans, but it will never be deliberate. So I want to appeal to all of us to firstly always pray for Nigeria, pray for our leaders, stand strong, believe in this country. It's a great and wonderful country that we have. We must not let it down.
In the meantime, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and human rights activist Mr. Femi Falana has threatened to sue the federal government if it fails to compensate victims of military airstrike accidents in the past 7 years. Mr. Falana, who made the remarks in a statement on Sunday, cited that not less than 400 people lost their lives to military airstrike accidents in the country between March 2014 and December of this year, 2023. In the statement titled, "No Justice for Civilians Killed in Airstrikes in Nigeria," Mr. Falana said while the military authorities accepted responsibility for the airstrikes, no compensation was paid to those who were injured or the families of scores of people who lost their lives in the tragic incidents. The statement reads in part, "Between March 2014 and December 2023, the Nigeria Air Force and Nigeria Army dropped bombs in some states in the northern part of the country on 16 different occasions. The airstrikes claimed the lives of not less than 400 people. Instead of setting up a new panel of inquiry, the federal government should publish the findings of the George Will Judicial Commission. The federal government should pay adequate compensation to the victims of all airstrikes that have occurred in Nigeria in the past 7 years." End of quote. Mr. Falana says if his demand is not met within the next 2 weeks, he will be left with no option than to sue the federal government at the Federal High Court to secure the enforcement of the fundamental right of the victims to life. Meanwhile, an airstrike by the air component of Operation World Punch on Wednesday, the 6th of this month, has neutralized scores of terrorists, including the dreaded terrorist and kidnap kingpin Yellow Jambros in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. A statement from the media office of the Nigerian Air Force notes that the terrorists met their end while attempting to cross Chikudna River in Galadima, Kogo district, heading towards Wurukuvi axis of Chikun local government area. Prior to the strike, the Air Force says the terrorist and his cohorts were trailed from Zamfara State into Niger State, riding 13 motorcycles along the Kaduna-Niger State border, heading towards Kusasu in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. The statement further adds that although it was unusual for terrorists riding in a convoy of 18 motorcycles to travel in broad daylight, it was apparent that Yellow Jambros and his cohorts had assumed that airstrikes were suspended following the unfortunate incident at Tudunbiri in Kaduna State and wanted to exploit the perceived window of opportunity. According to the Nigerian Air Force, Yellow Jambros and his cohorts have been responsible for several kidnappings and killings along the Abuja-Kaduna road and in several communities in Kaduna, Niger, Katsina, and Zamfara states. President Bola Tinubu has encouraged members of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to remain committed to ensuring that democracy remains the only form of governance in the sub-region. The president was speaking in his capacity as chairman of the 64th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, which has taken place in the State House, Abuja. The president asked the leaders to prioritize good governance and collective prosperity as an essential tool to help prevent authoritarian takeovers of power and unconstitutional changes of government in the region. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
It's the 64th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of the Heads of State and Government taking place in the State House Conference Center. In attendance are representatives of regional and continental bodies, members of the diplomatic corps, and other invited guests. The program commences as President Bola Tinubu arrives, accompanied by other heads of government. The president of ECOWAS Commission gave an overview of developments in the region and he hailed the commitment of member states to address challenges.
Excellencies, political stability, peace and security remain critical for our region. The flow of foreign capital and intra-regional trade and investment have been affected by the risk rating of our region. We are challenged to improve the business environment in our communities, to take advantage of the growing interest of investors in our community.
For President Tinubu, the region's stand against unconstitutional change of government must be unwavering.
By providing good governance that tackles the challenges of poverty, inequality, and other concerns of the people, we will have succeeded in addressing some of the root causes of military intervention in civilian process in our region. Democracy must win if we fight for it, and we will definitely fight for democracy.
He calls for a standing ovation for President George Weah of Liberia, who conceded defeat in the country's recent elections and congratulated his opponent. Following a 3-hour closed-door session, the resolutions are read out by the president of the commission. Part of the resolution is for the ECOWAS Commission to come up with actionable recommendations that will increase transparency and credibility of elections in the region. The authority also condemned the continued detention of Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum by the Nigerian National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, CNSP, and called for his release.
The authority decides to set up a committee of heads of state to engage with CNSP and other stakeholders with a view to agreeing on a short transition roadmap, establishing transition organs, as well as facilitating the setting up of a transition monitoring and evaluation mechanism towards the speedy restoration of constitutional order. Based on the outcomes of the engagement by the Committee of Heads of State with the CNSP, the authority will progressively ease the sanctions imposed on Niger.
The Commission also considered reports that some member states were considering setting up a separate alliance, and in their deliberations, they resolved to reject such alliances that seek to divide ECOWAS. From the Presidential Villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, Valentine Okoli emerges winner in the first series of Channels Television's social enterprise reality TV show Funded Forward, carting home the star prize of 30 million naira. Please join us again.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, no.
Unlimited. 3 emerging artists, 4 mega producers, 3 record deals with Empire. Do you have what it takes?
So if you want to take your craft to the next level,
grab your front row seat to the Pepsi Music Academy.
This one is for the entire music ecosystem.
Wherever you find yourself in the music spectrum, this is for you.
Pepsi Music Academy, in partnership with Empire, is Nigeria's confirmed music development program, created to discover, train, and showcase talent. Scan the QR code on any of our cool interactive Pepsi bottles, or visit www.pepsimusicacademy.ng to register for free and stand a chance to kickstart your music career with a 2-year record deal with Empire. Follow Pepsi_Naija on all social media platforms for more. Pepsi Music Academy. Stardom begins here. Pepsi. Thirsty for more.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigerian senators donate their December salaries to the victims of last Sunday's mistaken airstrike by the military on Tudunbiri village in Kaduna State. President Bola Tinubu advocates for good governance in the West African sub-region as a way of preventing authoritarian takeovers of power. After 9 weeks of rigorous learning processes, winners emerged in the first series of Channels Television's social enterprise reality TV show for young entrepreneurs, Funded Forward. And key mediator in the Israel-Hamas war, Qatar, says chances of a new ceasefire are narrowing, but has vowed to keep up the pressure on both sides. The suspense is over. After weeks of hard work, pitching of business ideas and learning, Valentine Okole of Bach and Moen Limited has emerged as the winner of the first season of Channels Television's social enterprise reality TV show, Funded Forward. The young entrepreneur won the grand prize of 30 million naira, beating Thara Aisha Atta of Transformers and Ayodele Enrile of Agrify, who finished as first and second runners-up with cash prizes of 15 million and 10 million naira each. The show, designed to nurture emerging social enterprises, featured 12 change agents who sought business training opportunities, mentorship, and most importantly, funding for their brilliant business ideas. Our correspondent, Darido, reports.
It's a journey that kicked off with 12 change agents, as they're called. They kept their eyes on developing a business model that is scalable, impactful, and sustainable.
I want to create value for my customers or deliver this.
Week in, week out, the agents go through the rigorous learning processes, get to pitch their big ideas, and with the help of different coaches drawn from various fields, their ideas are polished.
High-collar sustainability solutions journeyed all the way to Ijebu-Ode in Ogun State.
The show follows the real-world stages of building an impact-driven business. Competition comes with the territory, and only 3 agents made it to the final.
It's the final and decision day for Channel Social Enterprise Program Funded Forward. It's been an intense couple of weeks with a lot of learning and a special experience, a life-changing experiences for all the agents who are now better equipped for the future. Today there will be a winner. 1 out of the 3 finalists will emerge the winner of the show.
Business leaders, founders, CEOs, and top company executives are here to be part of the epoch-making event.
We've been blessed to have some remarkable contestants, or as we call them, change agents, here with us. All of them took a leap of faith, and they came with us on this new ride, and I sincerely hope it's on to bigger and better for them. I know I couldn't have even lasted 1 round in the judging room. We want to support them beyond the show, and I hope that once you hear more about them, you'll want to support them as well.
For the chairman and CEO of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momoy, it's been a worthwhile journey on the show, and it's a great opportunity to celebrate a special night.
It's my absolute pleasure to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to each one of you at this splendid soiree. And as we gather here tonight, surrounded by the enchanting ambience and the company of distinguished guests, let's take a moment to appreciate the beauty of coming together, to celebrate, connect, and create unforgettable moments. Whether you're here to meet new faces, catch up with old friends, or enjoy the evening's offerings, we are very thrilled to have you with us. Every one of you is special to the Channels family. Let this night be a testament to the joys, as Zemi said, of camaraderie, the elegance of gathering, and the endless possibilities that arise when great minds and warm hearts share the same space. Thank you, and indeed, thank you very much for being here, for bringing your unique energy to this gathering, and for being an integral part of what promises to be a truly remarkable evening, filled with joy, with laughter, and with memorable moments.
And there were more words of encouragement supporting social entrepreneurship in the country.
The reality is that for a country like Nigeria, for us to truly move forward, we need a ton of social entrepreneurs. And what you've created here today as a platform to mainstream and normalize the fact that you can be a social entrepreneur and still be a good person for society.
From food production, agribusiness to sustainable energy solutions, the 3 finalists make their final pitches.
Just knowing something I'm going to do is going to benefit more than myself, it's a win for me already.
We have 65% of the world's arable land, all the land in the world, but today we can barely feed ourselves.
We've processed 14,429 tons of cassava
in our local method, using our no waste policy. I think we deserve some carbon credit on that. Yes. Yes.
And it's time for the biggest moment of the show. Winner of the first season of the series is announced.
The grand winner of the ultimate 30 million Naira grand prize for season 1 of Fund It Forward is Batch and Moen Limited. Congratulations. AKA the Abacha Man.
Congratulations, Valentine Okoli, the founder of Batch and Moen. He is the winner of season 1, Fund It Forward. And you can see an excited woman.
I feel grateful. In fact, right now I feel powerful. I think that's the summary of it. But it's not by just physical strength. Grace of God. I learned, I unlearned, and now it's time to put in the work.
It's been a long 2 months. Just always thinking it will be you that week. Being that I've been called almost every week. But then I'm also grateful for that because it pushed me to do more.
I think Fund It Forward should become something that the Nigerian government does, because I don't know how to explain it. Like most people are doing tech ideas that you make money for yourself, but through platforms like Fund It Forward, they're actually thinking about people. You have to think clearly about your social impact, and it's such a different way to think about building a business, and I'm just very grateful to have come this far in the competition.
Fund It Forward is a one-of-a-kind social enterprise-focused reality TV show by Channels Media Group, where young business leaders are expected to benefit not only from the funding, but also the invaluable guidance from industry experts. Dari Idowu, Channels Television News.
A very big congratulations to the winners there. The trade report is not only a document that shows how much Nigeria is importing and exporting, but the document has vital metrics to assess trade trends across all business sectors. To share more insight about Nigeria's trade with the rest of the world is Babajide Ogunsanya, founder of Leadership by Data, and of course Channels Television's data analyst. Joins us from our Abuja studios. Great to have you, Babajide, on the News at 10 once again.
Anthony, the pleasure is all mine.
All right, so let's get into it. How much has Nigeria's trade result changed in the last 6 months? What can you tell us? What are the facts, Babajide?
Anthony, just before we go into the facts, I'd like to start from just a slightly different perspective, and that's because 14.5 dozen years ago, it was the French philosopher and writer Jean-Baptiste Alphonse Karr that said, "Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose." In English, he was saying that the more things change, the more they remain the same. And these are the facts if we take a look at Nigeria's trade position, especially if we compare the results of second quarter with the results of the third quarter. And that's how I'd like us to start. Let's take a look at the snapshot of the trading indicators that were presented by the National Bureau of Statistics, because that will allow us to understand what the French philosopher Jean-Baptiste was saying when he said, the more things change, the more they remain the same. So if we take a look at that, here's what you will find, especially if we start from the second quarter of this year, April to June. Yes, the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics, said we exported total exports 7 trillion naira. We imported 5.7 trillion naira, which showed a total trade position of 12.7 trillion naira. However, the implication means that 55% of our total trade we exported, which seemed to be some good news. In simple terms, our exports as a ratio of total trade, 55%. That was in the second quarter of the year. But in the third quarter of the year, despite exporting more than we did in the second quarter, an export of 10.3 trillion naira, we imported as much, 8.4 trillion naira. And so our export trade as a ratio of our total trade remains at 55%. So in simple terms, The second quarter of this year and the third quarter of the year remains approximately the same. That is the situation we find ourselves today. The numbers might look different, but the situation shows that our exports relative to the size of our total trade remains the same as it was in the second quarter of the year.
All right, so Babajide, this trade report... Yes, because we really don't have much time, but I just want to ask you this next question. Perhaps you can chip in your thoughts, analysis, as we go on. Now, this trade report actually shows that Nigeria is exporting more goods than it's importing, yet the economy is growing rather slowly. It's not growing high enough or below its potential. Why do you think this is the case?
This is the case because there are three things to look at. Yes, we need to look at our performance on oil. But we also need to critically look at what has happened in the agricultural sector, and we need to look at what happened in the manufacturing sector. And if we take a look at that data, it clearly allows us to understand the challenges the president will face in 2024. Because the data speaks to the facts, and the data makes us to clearly understand not just the opportunities, it allows us to understand the challenges that we face. Three key things. Look at the numbers from oil. In the third quarter of this year, we exported approximately 9.7 trillion naira worth of oil. We imported significantly less, 2.8 trillion naira. And so in terms of oil trade, we have a surplus of 6.8 trillion naira. That is good news. But Ayotunde, here is where we have bad news. Agricultural and manufacturing trade. In the third quarter of the year, we exported 219 billion naira worth of agricultural goods. However, we imported 643 billion naira worth of agricultural goods, giving us a trade deficit in excess of 400 billion naira. Simply put, we are significantly importing more agricultural items than we are exporting. Ayotunde, it's even worse when we take a look at the numbers in manufacturing. In the third quarter of the year, we exported only 200 billion naira worth of manufactured goods, but we imported an approximate figure of 4 trillion naira worth of manufactured goods. And so in manufacturing, we have another trade deficit in excess of 3.7 trillion naira.
All right, Babajide,
so the good news from the trade report is we have a surplus when we look at our oil trade with the world, but when it comes to our agricultural and manufacturing trade, we have a deficit, a significant deficit.
Interesting. So now some oil giants have shared a positive outlook, Babajide, about investing in Nigeria's oil sector, though some big brands in the manufacturing sector are closing down. That's what we're experiencing at the moment. What are the real challenges in the manufacturing sector? Very quickly now.
Three main things based on the report that we've seen and studying that report. The first is we need to look at our ease of doing business. The second is that we need to look at our shipping and logistics. And the third is we need to focus on our history. Let's take a look at the numbers and look at what exactly has been going on in the past 5 years. Again, we have a lot of shocking details regarding our trade, especially, Ayotunde, on our manufacturing trade. Let's take a look at the numbers that allows us to clearly understand the challenges and the solutions that the president needs to think of. Starting from 2018, manufactured goods, total exports by Nigerians, by the Nigerian firms that were producing, 645 billion naira in 2018. In that same year, we imported manufactured goods in excess of 7.4 trillion naira. And so 2018, our deficit on trade with respect to manufactured goods, an excess of 6.8 trillion naira. And that has happened year on year since 2018 up till today. The summary of what we have today shows that in the last 5 years, 2018 to 2022, Nigeria has exported only 5.6 trillion naira worth of manufacturing goods, but we have imported 59 trillion naira worth of goods. And so the summary and what you need to keep in mind as we end this show tonight is what we have in front of us shows that with respect to manufacturing and why companies are shutting down, for every 1 container of manufactured goods that leaves our ports, 10 containers come in.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Yes, we'll have to leave it at that, Babajide.
For every one container of manufactured good that leaves, 10 containers come in. And that is the solution the president needs to find out.
Or definitely we'll leave it at that, and a big work for the president to do for the year 2024. But thank you so much for your thoughts on the news at 10, Babajide. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Ayotunde.
Still ahead on the news at 10, President of the ongoing UN Climate Conference in Dubai asked delegates to put aside self-interest and work for a common package that all parties can align with. Please stay with us.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous.
Welcome back. The president of the ongoing United Nations Climate Conference has told delegates to put aside self-interest for the common interest and work for a balanced package that all parties can and should align around. A new draft has been released, but many parties are unhappy with what they call weak language on climate adaptation. Our environment correspondent, Ayola Kasim, reports.
Mr. President, while this is important progress, we still lack agreement on the draft decisions across all other outstanding technical work forwarded by the subsidiary bodies to items under the governing bodies.
Scenes from the last informal stock-taking plenary to assess the status of negotiation, as parties now have less than 2 days to complete their work to meet the 12th of December deadline.
Where we have some diverging views still, and where we still have to do some work, is how to speak about fossil. We spoke about fossil phase out, phase down, or at all, and if phase out or phase down, what about mitigation efforts like abatement, which is still outstanding issues, and there are some difference and some divergence still on that area.
But the disagreement is not limited to the language on fossil fuels. Experts contend that the latest draft is weak on global goal on adaptation, saying it is extremely weak on climate finance provisions that will help the developing countries meet the at least 7 adaptation targets set for 2030.
We must focus on the full operationalization of Article 6 in this COP. Let us complete the remaining technical matters, such as reporting format based on the discussions among experts. We are not here for any reopening or discussion of issues that are not relevant to its operation. Everyone, let us finalize our homework on Article 6 in this COP. Through the utilization of Article 6, we can realize actual greenhouse gas emission reductions. Let us provide hope toward 1.5-degree target to the world.
Article 6.4 being negotiated will create a global market that allows the buying and selling of carbon credits. Although this is a controversial move panned by some, Nigeria is one of the countries hoping to benefit from this outcome. The Director General of the National Council on Climate Change says COP28 has been beneficial for Nigeria.
We used the advantage of the COP to launch the Nigeria Long-Term Low Emissions Development Strategy, which we also had to deposit with the UNFCCC because it is a pre-requirement as part of the implementation of the Paris Agreement. Here we are seeing the direct involvement of our president turning things around for the best. I don't think we've ever experienced a COP that is as productive as this one.
Meanwhile, right now, parties are holding informal meetings and non-party stakeholders like the observers and the media are not allowed in. But the COP presidency is still holding out hope that the parties will bridge the divide and reach a consensus as soon as possible. From the venue of COP28 in Dubai, Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
Back home and in Nasarawa State, the authorities of the Federal University Lafia have revealed that 4 of its students have been kidnapped from their residence outside the campus at Gandu community. However, the Nigeria police have dismissed the claim, insisting that they have not received any report on the incident. According to the Acting Commissioner of Police, Shatima Mohammed, the students who took to the streets recently were only protesting a curfew instituted by the state government to improve security in the students' village area. Our correspondent, Halima Gayam, reports.
According to authorities at the Federal University Lafia in Nasarawa State, no fewer than 4 of its students were kidnapped on Wednesday night, an incident that prompted a protest by the students the following day. The identities of the students are yet to be ascertained. The school claims to be collaborating with the state government and the police for their rescue.
Since the incident happened, the police were invited and they were here. Yesterday they were here. And the state government was also informed. And everything is being done to make sure that these students are quickly returned. And we believe that will happen.
However, the police say it does not have details of the incident.
As far as police is concerned, there was no any formal report of kidnapping around that axis, because we have not received any complaint from the school authority, neither from the parents of the student being alleged to be kidnapped.
This is the lodge of the kidnapped students at Gandu village in Lafia. The attackers gained access through the fence after cutting the barbed wires. According to eyewitnesses, 10 students reside here, and on that day, 7 of them were whisked away, but 2 escaped in the process. Gandu is the most popular student village among about 5 of them. Thousands of students reside here. Some say over 4,000, some say over 6,000, especially from 300 to 500 level 1, not allocated hostel accommodation within the school premises. Gandu has locals and also business people. This business owner is a victim of incessant attacks in the area.
I was at the shop by 8, I think it was 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the night. All of a sudden, we just had gunshots. 2 men came into the shop with guns and then cutlass. And then they started asking for money. We gave them money. And then before we knew, they started asking for who is the owner of the shop in Hausa language. So the students, they pointed at me. So they now dragged me and then they took me to the bush.
The students, who will not speak on camera, say they have lost count of the number of times the community has been attacked and residents, mostly students, abducted. Governor Abdullahi Sule, on a visit to the school, disclosed plans to improve security in the area.
We will not be able to have a security post at every one of the villages. I don't know how many there are, but I understand that this particular one is a major settlement. And since it is a major settlement, we should be able to establish a police presence there.
Security is very tight there. Stop and search. We have the synergy with other sister agencies. We have military, we have DSS, we have police, we have civil defense, and other security agencies. We are working assiduously with them to be sure that that area is free from crime and criminality.
The state government also instituted a curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.
I can take 2 steps backward.
At the moment, examinations are ongoing and expected to be concluded by December 15. The students are hopeful that before the next academic session, the state government's promise of improving security in the area would be fulfilled to guarantee their safety. Halima Agayam, Channels Television News.
Let's talk education now. The 13th convocation ceremony of the Achievers University Award in Ondo State has taken place at the institution's campus. In all, 518 graduates are awarded various degrees, just as 3 outstanding Nigerians are presented with honorary doctorate by the university's governing council.
Graduates of the Achievers University in our Ondo State making their way to the Abubakar Adamu Rashid Auditorium.
Dean of the College of Natural and Applied Sciences.
Shortly after, the Chancellor's procession and that of other principal officers of the university joined family members and friends of the graduates and other guests already seated in the hall. The Olowo of Owo land, Oba Ajibade Gbadegesin Ogunwoye III, other traditional rulers as well as religious leaders also graced the occasion. In line with established protocols at events of this nature, the Chancellor of Achievers University and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Yakubu Dogara, steps forward to constitute the Assembly and thereafter presents his address.
No doubt the last 16 years have seen Achievers University through the basic teething challenges faced by an institution not owned by a money bag. It is gratifying, however, that the end has not only justified the means, but the future appears very bright. We must, however, not rest on our oars, as the base is yet to be achieved.
After him, the acting Vice-Chancellor of the institution, Professor Omolola Irioye, says the university has made significant progress since its inception 16 years ago and is still poised to achieve more in the years ahead.
The university has made significant progress looking back at the dates of receiving the operating license on the 11th of December 2007 and the date of resumption with the first batch of 126 students on the 8th of April 2008. On our record, as at December 1, 2023, we have 3,929 students in 5 colleges.
Representatives of invited universities deliver their goodwill messages, after which some outstanding students are presented with the awards by Chancellor of the school.
Tomilola Robiat, Omotomilola.
Next, the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, Dr. Bode Ayorinde, says he is confident that the graduates will flourish outside the school because they have been given the wings to fly.
We are giving our students the key to unlock the doors of opportunities that abound in the world out there. No doubt, the period of study, ranging from 18 months for the master's degree to 4 or 5 years or 3 years for the undergraduate students, have been very tasking and equally impactful.
The Pro-Chancellor's speech gives way to the conferment of honorary degrees on the Executive Director, Niger Delta Power Holding Company, the former Ondo State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mrs. Olajumoke Anifowoje, and the Registrar, Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, Farouk Abubakar. In the final analysis, all the 518 graduates from across the facilities of the university admitted into their degrees, with 37 of them earning first class, 259 second class upper division, 195 in the second class lower division, and 27 of them earning the third class degree.
Fresh calls have been made to the federal government to include state and private-owned universities in its interventions aimed at improving the education sector across the country. The latest call is coming from Professor Anthony Adegbulugbe, who was speaking at the 14th convocation ceremony of the Joseph Ayo Babalola University in Osun State. At the event, Professor Adegbulugbe was installed as the third chancellor of the institution and presented with the instrument of office to serve for the next 5 years.
This is the 14th convocation ceremony of Joseph Ayo Babalola University. It's with fanfare associated with such an event. This year, it's accompanied by the investiture of a new chancellor. Professor Anthony Adegbulugbe becomes the third chancellor of Joseph Ayo Babalola University. He is given the instruments of office by the Pro-Chancellor. As part of his first set of duties, he decides to reward hard work and excellence.
As my humble and initial contribution to fostering the culture of excellence and providing a cash prize of 500,000 naira each to the graduating students who bagged first-class honors degree.
The governing council of the school pleads with the federal government to extend interventions such as TED Fund to private universities across Nigeria.
The TED Fund should also not limit its funding to the public universities alone. Members of this institution and their families also pay taxes to the federal government. I hope our government will in no distant future oblige this seemingly protracted request of funding private universities in order to further strengthen and sustain the Nigerian educational sector.
As an energy expert, the Chancellor is concerned about the challenge of inadequate energy supply to institutions. He pledges that Joseph Ayo Babalola University Energy Project will soon be underway.
The challenge of inadequate energy supply to educational institutes in the country is not peculiar to Jabu alone. It's a huge challenge in almost all the universities in the country. I want to use this medium to appeal to the federal government to widen the beneficiaries of this laudable program to include state and privately owned universities.
The visitor to the university urges the graduating students to be good ambassadors.
They have received light in terms of education, so it's time for them now to go out and show that light to the dark world in which we live, to be good ambassadors of not only this institution, but also the Lord Jesus Christ himself here.
The convocation ceremony featured conferment of honorary degrees, award of first degrees, and higher degrees to the recipients.
It was a very bright, colorful and eventful day as Zenith Bank rolled out the drums and much more to celebrate youth and children on this festive period in the Zenith Youth Christmas Parade. The event, which has not held since the COVID pandemic, attracted several young people who appeared delighted to participate. According to the Group Managing Director of the bank, Ebenezer Onyagu, the event is one of the many ways Zenith Bank reckons with youth development in the country.
Always looking good, always delivering. First, it was the light-up of Ajose Adogun Street, Victoria Island. And now, it's the Zenith Bank Christmas Youth Parade. The entire stretch of the street is transformed into one big amusement park with a long list of entertaining activities for children and youth.
If you know that I really have, really mean it, shout a more thunderous Zenith! Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone.
With the parade officially kick-started, it's fun time unlimited for participants. For 15 years, Zenith Bank has kept this culture of fun going, except for the era of social distancing when COVID-19 was rife. Today, the story is different, and it appears fulfilling to the management of the bank.
We were very happy and excited to be reconnected again. And secondly, we are happy about the fact that this platform provides an opportunity for us to create a linkage and connection with the youth.
The theme of the parade this year, which has become a grand festival that signals the start of the festive season, is to life. And this is for obvious reasons.
This year's theme in particular is significant because this is the first opportunity of hosting this event after COVID. And that's why we tagged it to life, which
signifies and symbolizes the perseverance, the resilience of the human spirit.
We see the smiles on their faces, the joy on their faces. For me, there's nothing more precious than seeing a smile on the face of a child.
Even the children appear to understand the worth of what Zenith Bank has put into organizing this event for them, and they are grateful.
Zenith Bank has tried so hard to make children and everybody happy today. Thank you, Zenith Bank, for organizing this event.
Zenith Bank continues to pride itself in the culture of partnering the youth on empowerment and development, recognizing that they are the future of the nation. And the management of the bank says the Zenith Christmas Youth Parade is another commitment signed, sealed, and delivered.
Welcome to Sports News. Rivers United FC pipped Tunisia's Club Africain 1-0 in the third round of matches in Group C of the CAF Confederation Cup played this evening at the Godswill Lapabio International Stadium, Uyo. Yima Wagwa struck 5 minutes before the first half break to hand Stanley Guma's side all 3 points in the game and now share 6 points with the Tunisia-based side with both teams on same goal difference. The Port Harcourt side are now the third Nigerian club after BCC Lions in 1990 and Eyimba in 2008 to defeat Club Africain on the continent. Jack Grealish ensured Manchester City ended their 4-game winless run as the English Premier League champions survived a scare from Luton in their 2-1 victory earlier today. Raul Jimenez continued his return to form with another goal as Fulham thrashed lackluster West Ham United to record their second 5-goal victory in 5 days at Craven Cottage. Everton continued to shrug off the impact of a 10-point EPL deduction as a 2-0 win over Chelsea took the Toffees 4 points clear of the relegation zone. Tottenham Hotspur won for the first time in 6 matches as Richarlison's double inspired a rout of dismal Newcastle United on Sunday. Key mediator between Israel and Hamas, Qatar, says the chances of a new ceasefire are slimming down, but promises to keep up the pressure on both parties. Israel has ordered civilians to flee the center of Khan Yunis, as they say they don't want civilians caught up in the difficult fighting, as the Israeli military have earlier told soldiers to press harder, even though the WHO has described healthcare in Gaza as catastrophic. Hamas attacked Israel some 9 weeks ago, killing 1,200 people and taking 240 hostages, some of whom have been released during a short-lived truce. Jailed Iranian activist Narges Mohammadi has been granted a Nobel Peace Prize for her work fighting against the oppression of women in Iran. The prize was accepted on her behalf by her teenage twins, who read out a smuggled speech from prison where she denounced Iran's tyrannical government. Ms. Mohammadi has for years been a prominent human rights figure in Iran, and the 51-year-old has been in jail almost continuously since the year 2010 and has been arrested 13 times, convicted 5 times, and sentenced to a total of 31 years in prison. And the main news again. Nigerian senators today announced the donation of their December salaries to the victims of last Sunday's mistaken airstrike by the military on Tudunbiri village in Kaduna State. The announcement was made by the Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibril, during a condolence visit to the Kaduna State Governor, Uba Sani. We also told you that Valentine Okoli has emerged winner in the first series of Channels Television's social enterprise reality TV show, Funded Forward, carting home the star prize of 30 million naira. That's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From all of us here, you have a good night.